What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is your review for the Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 6, Episode 9. So, we open up the episode. We find out that Karen went over budget on this wedding, honey. She got 2 wedding dresses and some more stuff. We're going to get back to that a little bit later on. Mia is going to meet up with her mama. So, she's trying to pick out the perfect outfit. She's a little nervous, which is understandable, right? And we'll get back to that a little bit later, too. And then we see the Green Eye Bandits doing their podcast, okay? They got a whole deal with iHeartRadio. They're, just kind of doing what they do. Not really sure what they're going to talk about. But they got the equipment, they got the setup, and they're good to go. So we see them doing the podcast, and they're doing relationships. And in this conversation, we hear them talking about infidelity. And Giselle talks about, the statistics of men who cheat. And she said something about there is a 300%, I think she said, what did she say? 88% chance that a man will cheat, and a 300% chance that if he cheats once, he'll cheat twice. And she said, I thought about my friend group, and when I thought about my girlfriends, it's 100%. Now, I understand that you don't consider Karen a friend, and I guess at this point, you don't consider Wendy a friend, but I just thought that was interesting that basically you saying that all the women that you consider to be girlfriends have had a man cheat on them. That's interesting. Then she went on to talk about how she could excuse the indiscretion. Okay, I went to a bachelor party, got drunk, and shit went down, versus you have an ongoing affair, because that's a lifestyle, and for that I can't forgive. Now, I really hate to say that I agree with anything Giselle says, but that's what I've always said about infidelity. Like, it would be a lot easier for me to forgive. I got drunk, I made a bad decision, it was one night, I fucked up, versus, oh yeah, me and this person have been together for the last 3 or 4 years. That means I've been constantly lying to you. I've been spending money on this woman. We have gone, like, it's a whole lifestyle situation. Now, I'm not saying I will forgive either one. I'm saying that if I was inclined to forgive, that would be easier for me to forgive than the whole lifestyle situation. But what I find interesting is that Giselle went through this whole long conversation, and ma'am, that's exactly what Jamal did to you. Not once but twice. And then she said, well, I wish somebody had told me that 2 years ago. So then, of course, the producers pushed her on that. I'm just playing. I'm just joking. Oh, no, you meant that. You meant that. But let's be clear. You walked into that situation with your eyes wide open. The first time, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But the second time, you walked in that situation with Jamal Bryant with your eyes wide open the second time around. Like, let's be clear. Then Robin started talking about Juan and how she sort of excused it. And she sort of was like, well, you might be with her, but I'm married to him. He my man. And again, we know women who do that. She said, listen, I was young, dumb, but in hindsight, I would never do that again. Like, I wouldn't put myself through that again. Like, I'll cry. I remember crying myself to sleep. Like, I remember going through all of that, and I would not do that again. I would never put myself in that situation again. So, and, Giselle was like, oh, my goodness, Robin, you never told me that before. You never shared that with me before. But I'm like, I get it. Like, everybody don't need to share the intimate details of the infidelity. But she said, listen, me and my husband, we divorced and we worked it out. And now we back together, about to get married again. And hopefully won't make those same mistakes twice. Girl. Ashley and Michael, look, Ashley taking the baby to a massage therapy, wellness, lactate specialist, because the baby is having a hard time latching on. And she wants, I guess, to find out what they need to do before they look at any type of surgery options, because she's saying that he's having a hard time taking a bottle or taking the nipple. Now, I know a lot of times women have a hard time breastfeeding. And see, that's why y'all really, when I say y'all, I'm talking about everybody. People really need to not pass judgment when a woman says they're not breastfeeding. People really need to not pass judgment. There have been celebrities, people like Giselle Bundchen and what's the other girl? The girl who named her daughter Apple, Gwyneth Paltrow, who want to make these broad comments about women who don't breastfeed and why it's a horrible thing and you're a horrible mother if you don't breastfeed your child. But the reality of the situation is it ain't as easy as everybody makes it out to be. And I've had friends who've had a very hard time breastfeeding, and they've sought, methods and experts and all of that. And sometimes it's not easy. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's not easy. And like I actually said, listen, I'm getting up damn near every hour on the hour to feed the baby because he's not getting enough when I try to breastfeed him. He's not eating till he's full. He's eating till he's tired, and he's not getting that much food. Anyway, so come to find out, it's a woman who is a massage therapist, but somehow she has gotten into this basically like baby massage situation to help babies be able to lactate better and find, a wholeness, holistic, treatment. And Michael was asking this woman questions like she was getting ready to take the baby out for a 2-month trip through the Amazon. Like I get it, but my thing is y'all never left the room. Like the woman didn't say I need to be alone for a few minutes. You can't see what I'm doing. Like y'all literally stood there the whole time while that woman was massaging the baby. And that's all she did was massage the baby, and she found some pressure points and some things that brought to their attention, and hopefully that's supposed to help. And like Ashley said, I'm hoping that this is just going to help and put us in a better situation so that we don't have to seek out any type of surgical options, which is understandable. But that wasn't even really the interesting part. The interesting part about that was on the way home when they started talking about, Ashley was like, I want to thank you for being so patient with me, yada, yada, yada. And he starts talking about, because I noticed, you're doing a good job of getting the weight down, you're not overweight, so yeah, I'm still attracted to you. Because she was talking about, she didn't want him to actually watch the baby come out of her vagina because she didn't want to become less desirable to him. Because for a lot of men, that's a hard thing to see. And he was like, no, I still find you very sexy. You're losing the weight. You're coming down on the weight and you're not overweight. And I was thinking to myself, wow. Like, that is the wrong thing to say to your woman who is still very postpartum, who is still trying to get the baby weight off. Like, I know for some women, they pop back. Snap back, I think is what they call it. For some women, they always have a little pouch. For some women, it's harder than, it's hard, but again, for that to be what you saying to her, and Ashley didn't really say a whole lot, but her face said it all, which is going to bring us to the end of this episode when Candace makes some comments about her being, your wide ass this and your wide that. And out of everything Candace said to Ashley, that is what Ashley latched onto. So what are you trying to say? You're saying I'm fat? You're trying to say I'm fat? Are you fat shaming me now? And I'm thinking, oh, that's why you stuck on it, because that's in your head. It still was a mean thing for Candace to say. But I'm just thinking of all the stuff that Candace was saying. That's the thing she latched onto. And I was just thinking, when your wife is already worried about you cheating on her, when they're already dealing with that type of stuff, the last thing you need to be talking about is you and the weight. But anyway. Oh, Jordan. So then we have Candace talking to her husband, recapping Williamsburg. And he's sort of, her talking about how bad, how mean Ashley was and that horrible thing Ashley did. Of course, she's blaming all of it on Ashley. And I'm like, it ain't really all Ashley's fault. Like, yes, Ashley went in there to have a conversation that was unnecessary to have with Wendy, but you can't put all that on Ashley. She said Giselle was being messy too. And to be fair, she did say Giselle was being messy too. We also saw Wendy talking to Eddie about it, and Eddie was like, the rumors ain't true. Now, the one thing I thought was interesting was Wendy said old rumors. So these are not new rumors. This isn't the first time you've heard this about your husband. Now, the one thing Eddie said was, listen, everything that I went through to marry you, why would I cheat? Like, basically, my whole family has disowned me because I wanted to marry you, because of my love for you. Why would I put all that in jeopardy to go out here and cheat on you? Now, on one hand, Eddie, that's logical. That's a logical thing to say. But the flip side of that, Eddie, is men do it all the time. Men make the biggest sacrifices for love, and then 2 years later realize that it ain't that big of a, they don't care, and the right thing sashay past them at the right time, and they in the right mood. So, that's logical and everything, but it happens. Then we see Robin talking to her son about needing a life coach. Then we see Robin make a phone call and get her a life coach. I don't have a whole lot to say about that because I just feel like sometimes, and I know sometimes they do it for the purposes of a scene on the TV show because, child, they can't film with nobody else. But I just think sometimes we say way too much to our children. We bring our children into situations that are not their business, that are above what they need to be getting. And you struggling with your mental health, whether it is legit, whether it is just the COVID, whether for whatever I just feel like that's a lot. That's on me. But anyway, so she getting her a life coach, honey. So then we see Mia meet up with her mom down to, it's called limoncello. Limoncello. It's a liqueur. The first time I had limoncello was when I was in Italy, okay? But anyway, it's a restaurant called Limoncello. I've never been there before. It looks like that's down in Baltimore. I've never been there before. But we get to meet her mom, and we see her and her mom having a conversation, and they get to talk. And the one thing Mia said was, I'm sorry, I was never mad at my mom. Like, I always wanted a relationship with my mom. I was never mad at her. And they get to talking about her history. Now, her mother has come out of rehab. Now, I'm going to say this, and this might sound petty, but dealing with people in rehab, I know that there are some people who can drink and, like, they have a drug addiction, but they can still have alcohol, and it's not a problem. But I just thought it was very interesting that your mom is out of rehab, and you're worried about her sobriety, and you're worried about her, and the first thing she does is order an alcoholic drink. I didn't hear her say, let me get the non-alcoholic version. She got limoncello. Limoncello is a liqueur. It's alcohol. But I'm gonna just stay over here to the side and mind my business. But she was talking about how much, Mia was like her dad. She was like, yeah, you really remind me of your father. And she said, when you were a kid, I used to be like, oh, she's getting on my nerves so much. She acts just like her dad. And Mia was, and when you heard the soundbite, I was like, damn, that was harsh. But then once you understood where that was coming from, she was like, you had that outgoing personality like your dad, and it just reminded me of him so much. And so Mia was like, well, can you talk to me about my dad? Like, what? And at first her mother was like, no, I can't go there. And you immediately saw her mother get upset. Like, she immediately got upset. And Mia sort of pushed it. Now, again, at first I was like, why is she pushing it? She just trying to do it, make a scene. But then I was like, no, these are the hard conversations that we need to have. I need to understand, because you made decisions as a result of your relationship with my father that affected me, and I need to understand those decisions. So on one hand, I felt like maybe I was like, oh, she pushing too hard. But then I was like, no, these are conversations, and she's old enough to understand it. These are the conversations she needs to have. So what we found out is that her dad was the one that introduced drugs to her mom. So I'm sure that is a hard pill to swallow. We found out that he cheated on her mom. He was physically abusive to her. Something I didn't know, that, Mia has burns all over her body. And it comes from her trying to cook, when she was a kid, trying to cook oatmeal and knocking the oatmeal down and it pouring all over her body. And when her mom, they called her mother to come home from work. And she was like, why do I need to come home from work? What's going on? Sorry, just something. Why do I need to come home? Her dad is there. She said, I got there and your father was in the basement with another woman. So, like, these are all of and she said, I finally got fed up and I put him out. And then 3 days later realized I didn't want to live without him. And so I tried to kill myself. Like, it's a lot, and there's a lot of trauma there that they were talking through and that they were figuring out. And, of course, Mia said, listen, I have put a lot of that out. I have put a lot of that negativity out. Because it's your dad. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to think about their parents in a negative light. And, so she blocked out a lot of the nastiness and probably only remembered her dad. I mean, even when she told us a story about her dad knocking her into a glass table because he was beating up his girlfriend or her stepmom or whatever, she still wanted to see the best in him and wanted to have that positive thought about him. And so, she said, I'm glad we had this conversation. We're going to definitely have to do this more often so we can continue to build our relationship. And so she agreed to that. And I just thought that was a really good idea. I thought that was a really, really good idea. And I thought it was a really good conversation. And I've been seeing all over social media, people giving her kudos for opening up that trauma and opening up that to us. And I'm going to be honest, like, that's probably the realest storyline that we've seen Mia. We've seen Mia lie about every damn thing else, but I think that was really real, in that moment. So Wendy and Mia meet Kern down to her venue to shop for a second gown. Now, she got the first gown, but she said she needs her a second gown, honey. She got to have her wardrobe changed. And so Mia and Wendy meet down there. Now, Mia immediately threw shade at the outside. It wasn't like an industrial park. But inside, it was absolutely gorgeous. And Mia was like, so this the venue? Like, it's beautiful inside, but like outside it ain't nothing pretty to pull up to. You know what I mean? But I understand it. Like, if I was invited to a wedding and that's where I pulled up, I'd probably be thinking the same thing until I got inside. But anyway, Karen, tries on a couple of wedding gowns and it was pretty and all that great stuff. And then we find out, when we have a conversation and we find out that Mia was invited to have drinks and cocktails with the girls for Robin's birthday. But of course, Wendy and Karen were not invited. Now, Karen's thing was, child, I didn't expect to be invited. Like, I know how it is. Like, me and Giselle aren't in the best place, and it is what it is. And Mia was like, yeah, but this isn't Giselle's birthday. It's Robin's birthday. And so Giselle should invite people that Robin would want there, not people she would want there. Oh, Mia. You still ain't learned that whatever Giselle wants is what Robin wants? Girl. So, and then Wendy said, listen, I ain't talked to Karen since we left Williamsburg, so I am not surprised that I didn't get an invitation either. It is what it is, And then Karen said, well, you can take this back to Giselle and let her know that I would be willing to let bygones be bygones if she would just apologize for using the word death as it relates to my husband. Karen, listen, I'm not doing this with you. You have been putting 20 on 10 this whole season about that bullshit. And I've said it once, I've said it 20 times, I'll say it one more time. Of all the things that you can be mad at Giselle about, that's the one you chose to hang your hat on. Girl, if anything, if you want to go back 3 seasons to something that Giselle said, go back to when she showed up in that damn t-shirt about your husband's tax problems. Go back to when she called him Uncle Ben. Like, if you want to go back, go. You got stuff. It's not like Giselle has only done one thing to you. Anyway, and poor Mia is like, okay, girl, Mia, don't you take that message back. Don't you put yourself in that bullshit with them. Don't do it. Don't do it. And Wendy was like, well, I thought me and Robin were kind of in a better place, but, it is what it is, It's cool. It's whatever. So then we see Candace and her husband. They're out at lunch, and they're going over her schedule, which is so... Oh, that's the other thing. She did tell him about Giselle making the comments about him riding her coattails and this, that, and the other, right? And I think that played a part into this argument. That's why I say that. So they get to talking, and come to find out, Candace has a busy week. It's the week she's shooting her music video, and she's got all these things going on. And her husband was like, listen, I won't be there on this day because I have a cooking class to do. And Candace is irritated. Why aren't you going to be there for me? You're never there for me. You're never there when I need you to be there. Why aren't you going to be there? Why aren't you coming? I don't understand. Why do you have to have a cooking class on that day? He was like, because that's when they booked me. Like, what do you mean? Now, let's be clear. You can't have it both ways, Candace. You can't have a full-time husbander, but still want him to work and have some semblance of independence. And the other thing you can't do is, for a man, you got to let a man be a man. Like, you cannot emasculate him to the point where if he's trying to work, even if he ain't making a whole lot of money doing it, even if it's not, Like, I mean, doing cooking classes may not be racking in the thousands and thousands of dollars, but if that is helping him feel like he is still maintaining some level of independence, you got to let that man be a man. And for you to act like, well, why aren't you there for me? Why aren't you there for me? He was like, I'm going to be there for the rest of the schedule. Like, I think she's shooting the video over like 3 days. He's going to miss 1 day. So it's not like he's not going to be there at all. He's just not going to be there for 1 day. And then she was like, well, what happens if this happens? He said, your choreographer is there. So-and-so is there. So-and-so is there. I'm going to give them all the instructions. Everybody's going to know what to do. You'll be fine. So after all of that, after all that is said and done, Candace has still got an attitude, and Candace act like she get ready to cuss that man out, and she keeps saying, I'm trying not to cuss you out. I'm trying not to cuss you out. Baby, he gets up and walks away and leaves her at that damn table to finish, and then she ends up paying for the food. Talking about some women, why am I paying for the food? Because he left you there. You paying for the food because he left you there. And as they're leaving, she's mumbling under her breath, I'm trying not to cuss you out. And I feel like she didn't want it, like necessarily didn't want it on camera, even though I know you knew you still had a hot mic on. And he was like, well, why would this be any different than any other time? I said, Now, we have seen Candace blow up at her husband before, okay? So we know that she ain't above saying it. She ain't above it coming out. So this will be interesting to see how that plays out with the whole husbander situation, okay? Then we get to the cocktails for Robin's birthday. And shouts out to Blackwall Hitch. My sister used to be a chef there prior to the pandemic. I have eaten there several times. Their brunch is really good. It's in Old Town, Alexandria, Virginia. It's a really, really nice spot. It's right on the water. You can take a water taxi over there from the National Harbor, from Georgetown. It's really nice. Anyway, but they're meeting up there for drinks and all that good stuff. All the ladies show up, and Mia brings up the fact that she, has seen Wendy and Karen, and the fact that Giselle didn't invite Wendy. And she said, well, Giselle, to be fair, Wendy has always spoken very positively about you. And she said, yeah, which is all the more reason why she should know that I wasn't trying to be shady. That's all the more reason why she should know that what I did wasn't shady. And me coming direct. Oh, that's what I knew I wanted to say. Rewind. When they were talking about the podcast, and Giselle made the comment about she would go directly to her friends, and recently she went to a friend of hers about a rumor she heard about her husband, and it wasn't appreciated, it wasn't received well. See, that's the problem, Giselle, because you did not go to her. You sent somebody else. You did not directly go to Wendy and say, girl, I heard this A, B, and C. You sent somebody else, and that was one of the biggest problems. I do think that if you had set Wendy down, I think that the reaction would have been different. But that's not what you did, and that's why you got what you got. Anyway, so she said that's all the more reason why Wendy should know that there was no malice and that I was coming at her from a friendly place. But whatever, child, that ship is sailed. Okay. So as they're talking, the comment is made about, Ashley, did you really put fire on that? Like, did you put more on it than needed to be put on there? And Ashley was like, no, because all I said was, are you and Eddie trying to rekindle y'all's love life because of the rumors? And no, she didn't say because of the rumors. And Alaska was like, well, see, that might be why she got upset, because that's giving the impression that the rumors are true. Why you need to rekindle your love life if ain't nothing wrong with it, the love life, and if we're in a good place and our marriage is okay and we're not, like, why does anything need to be rekindled, right? And she was just like, but I promise you, I didn't say anything. I didn't put 20 on 10. Y'all know my 20 on 10. I didn't do any of that. And I was like, girl, So then Candace chimes in. Yes, you did. You absolutely did. You put your wide body butt, and your forehead, and then you started all this trouble. Then you took your breast milk and went home. I said, matter of fact, I think she said your titty milk. I think she said you took your titty milk and went home. I said, oh my goodness. Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord, right? But at the end of the day, they got into it, and like I said, that's when Ashley tried to say, "Are you body shaming me? Oh my goodness, wide body, wide body. What are you trying to say, wide body?" And Candace was like, "Girl, whatever. You messy. You came in there being messy. You came in there to be messy because you messy." I said, "Well." And that's pretty much where the episode ended. I'm sure we're gonna pick it up next week. We're gonna get into more next week, down to the Black Wall and Hitch. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in the comments. Peace.